from making his heavyweight debut to defeating Cyril Gane in less than 2 minutes. Jon Jones is having a pretty good year. There is one person who's after his heavyweight title though, and that's Stipe Miocic. The Jones vs. Gane fight was something that everyone in the UFC world was looking forward to for the longest time. Everyone thought that it would last for a while, but Jones cut through Gane in just 2 very short minutes. Cyril Gane, aka Bongamin, looked like he was no match for Jones. Now the heavyweight title isn't vacant anymore, and Bones is the king of the UFC world. As I said, everyone was seated and tuned in for the fight, watching it very closely. Stipe Miocic, the former UFC heavyweight title holder, was doing the same thing. The silencer is very familiar with the octagon. After all, he's defended his heavyweight title more times than any other champion in the division. That gives him some major bragging vibes. Miocic didn't only sit in the crowd and observe, he was also plotting for later. Apparently, Stipe wants to have his shot at Jones too now. It's definitely going to be interesting if this ends up happening, even though Stipe said that he was happy about Jon Jones winning and said hats off to him. He let Bones know that he's not going to let him out without a fight. He said that he wants to have a fight with Jones too. It's going to happen in July. The way Miocic said it, it looks like Bones doesn't have any option but to fight Stone Cold now. This fight has been a long time coming though, because Stipe Miocic has wanted this for a long time. Unfortunately, he didn't get it, and Miocic is very upset about the whole thing, and the fact that he's going to have to wait until July. I mean, I would be too if I were him. That's not all that Stipe Miocic talked about though. He let everyone know what he thinks about Jon Jones as a heavyweight too. The first thing he said was that he's a big boy. That's very obvious though. Now at 6'4" and 247 pounds, Bones is a force that needs to be reckoned with. Other guys would be really scared of him just based on his size alone though, but Stipe Miocic is unfazed. If you're wondering why, it's because Miocic is bigger than that. Miocic said that it's okay, because he was going to take Jones out anyway. He kept it short and sweet, saying that I'll take him out, and Miocic is sure that that's exactly what's going to happen. As the UFC 285 post-fight press conference was happening, Jon Jones had already heard about Stipe Miocic's comments. News sure does travel fast. Of course, Bones couldn't not address Miocic's comments right there and then. He said that Stipe's head is in the wrong spot if he thinks that being heavier than Bones is what's going to help him win. Being heavier and weightlifting is not enough to beat Jon Jones. According to the MMA champion himself, he might just be right, because Jones's size is not the only thing that makes him the legend that he is. Jones is so formidable just because of the way that he trains. For him, the real fight is won before it actually happens. In an interview with Ariel Helwani, Jones said that he trains 5 times a day, but that's not all though. He studies at night for the fight and becomes obsessed with his opponents. Jon Jones finds out everything there is to know about his opponent and plans out his moves accordingly. Bones also has an incredible balance. When he went up against wrestlers like Bader, Jackson, and Evans, his back brushed against the canvas of the octagon 0 times. That is insane. Jones is extremely agile, and the way he can stay standing going up against some of the strongest wrestlers is what makes him unstoppable. I can say the same for his striking abilities too. When his opponents are trying to figure out how to get past his 85-inch reach, he grabs the perfect opportunity to throw a spinning sidekick, a spinning elbow, or even a flying knee or Superman punch. That's why his opponents lost their balance quickly. But Stipe Miocic already knows this. He's still extremely confident about going up against Jon Jones. Bones too is confident that Miocic doesn't stand a chance against him. In the press conference, he said that even though Stipe is bigger, he's never going to be younger than Jones. Can't argue with that. Miocic is 40, and that's old by MMA standards. That doesn't mean he sucks or anything, but it's clear his body isn't the same as younger fighters.
We all know that. The guy looks like a bodybuilder. But, my coaches reminded me, John, Thiago Santos had a really awesome physique. If Vitor Belfort had muscles in his earlobes.
Jon Jones is 35, and a 5-year age difference is a lot when it comes to this sport. It's a well-known fact that as you get older, you slow down. Stipe Miocic isn't an exception for Father Time. Whether he likes to admit it or not, he's probably not going to be faster than Jon Jones. Bones is confident that he's going to finish Miocic before the championship rounds. While I agree that a lot of what he's saying is true, everyone knows that one of Jones's weaknesses is his overconfidence. Because of his pre-fight preps, he's convinced that he knows everything there is to know about his opponent. This belief hasn't been true 100% of the time though. Take the first round of the Machida fight. Jon thought that he could hold his ground. Instead, he fell short, being caught with a flush right straight in a round that he eventually lost. His overconfidence about knowing everything about Machida almost cost Bones his title. Even though both Stipe and Jon want to fight each other, there's not a lot of info about when it's gonna happen. Miocic wants to fight on International Fight Week in July in Las Vegas. If it does end up happening, Jones versus Miocic is going to set the MMA world on fire. Plus, it's going to make International Fight Week so much more exciting. Jones let everyone know that he's going to give the fans what they want, and if they want him to fight Stipe Miocic, they're going to get it. Bones warned Stone Cold and said that he should be training hard, even though he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. It looks like the fans really do want to see the Silencer and Bones go up against each other, and it looks like the president of the UFC, Dana White, is listening to them. He said that a fight between the two legends will definitely happen sooner or later.
Yeah, Stipe's still obviously very much in the mix, and but he's going through some stuff right now that he's dealing with. The timing just didn't work for him.
I hope it's sooner rather than later though, so the hype doesn't die down. One thing is for sure, whenever the fight happens, it's going to be super exciting, given Jones's and Miocic's epic careers. Jones's last fight definitely reflects how great a fighter he is. Despite it being his first fight in 3 years, he took Cyril Gane down with a guillotine choke just 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the fight. Bongamin had no option but to submit. Bones' 37-month hiatus between fights before returning to the UFC and making his heavyweight debut is something that's going to go down in history. Not a lot of fighters can do that and make it look easy, but I have to give it to him. Miocic is also an amazing fighter though. Even though the 40-year-old hasn't fought since March 2021 after losing to Francis Ngannou, he is still regarded as the greatest heavyweight in all of UFC history. The two-time champion is determined to beat Jon Jones and said that he's going to train his ass off in order to do that. Things are definitely heating up in the UFC heavyweight division, and if the Miocic and Jones fight ends up happening, it's definitely going to go down in history for being one of the biggest fights ever. That's all I have for Stipe Miocic's comments about Bones' win today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.